Multiple coffins, multiple statues, and a blindside that led to an epic banishment reveal. Episode 4 turned this game on its head. We left episode 3 with the traitors gathered in the room behind the bookshelf, frantically trying to complete their mission to add 3 names for a murder in plain sight. Gabby was at the door of the bar. Though she could hear Danielle's voice coming from the bookcase, Gabby didn't stick around to see Carolyn leave with Danielle. Dylan is proven to be a very observant player. We know he's had early suspicions about Bob the drag queen, and we see him looking around for clues before the evening is out. He notices the bookcase open and thinks something has changed in there. Danielle, then Sierra, followed him in. If Dylan had noticed the mini coffin and looked in, what exactly would Danielle have done? Was it better to stay away from the bookcase than follow him in? We shall never know. Alan rang a bell for the players to go outside, and we learned that Sierra, Jeremy and Nikki were the chosen names for the 3 coffins. The morbidness of this game continues. While Jeremy's name didn't come as a surprise, Sierra and Nikki did. Not names that were voted for previously, so there must have been some murmurings going round about at least one of them to possibly pin this whole thing on. Alan gave the 3 the opportunity to say some possibly final words to the traitors. Jeremy's words were the ones that surprised me. That's not something you would normally say within earshot of other faithfuls. Wanting to work with traitors usually doesn't go down very well, but as we later find out, it was Sierra's words that left some thinking she was a traitor. At breakfast, Gabby told Robin, Chriselle and Dolores about what she heard the previous night. Gabby's thinking was that Danielle is a traitor and she must have been meeting with the other traitors. Robin instantly dismissed the notion that Danielle is a traitor because of how Danielle's been in the game. With the others given the go-ahead, Robin mentioned the bookcase. Danielle admitted that she was in the bookcase with Dylan. Bob the drag queen also said that others, including him, went in after people had mentioned there was a bookcase. Gabby thought her clue was immediately debunked, which is a shame because, as the viewers all know, Gabby is correct. Everyone seemed very clear that they think at least one person in the coffins is a traitor. Some even thought there might be 2. Danielle was quick to turn to Derek, saying she thinks one of the traitors is a girl next door type of person. This obviously seems like Danielle was planting a seed to set up someone like Gabby at a later point in the game. Jeremy ended up being the latest victim. Another Survivor alumni has left the game following Tony's banishment. I'm surprised there was an agreement for that move. It now leaves Carolyn and Rob as the only Survivor players left in the game. That leaves one of them open to being banished because it would be more than likely for Alan to have picked at least one Survivor alumni as a traitor. Jeremy might not have said his suspicions to a lot of faithfuls, but there's an extra reason for any that he did tell to now look in her direction. Nikki was one of the people aware of Jeremy's suspicions of Danielle, and while in the coffin, Nikki could tell that one of the footsteps were light. I was curious as to what the 3 could actually hear, seeing as the traitors were discussing who to pick above them. With Jeremy gone, eyes and suspicions were on Sierra and Nikki. Tom thinks Sierra was recruited, though it took a wee moment before he got the words out. Wes thinks it's Nikki partially because she's not been extra like she is in wrestling, and she's also voting along with the group. Gabby said in her commentary that she doesn't believe Nikki's a traitor, but if she was, she's not ready to say goodbye. The 2 of them, along with Chriselle, have formed a bond and call themselves the Bambis. It seems inevitable that they would end up being taken out one by one, and the odds were stacked on Nikki being the first. Dylan was bucking the trend, sticking to his early suspicion of Bob the drag queen, a feeling he just can't let go. For me, Dolores has been on the lower end of the edit, so it was interesting to see a bit more of her in this episode, talking through her thoughts. Dolores admitted to Dylan that she's also convinced Bob the drag queen is a traitor too, but she's not ready to say it. This seemed to be a recurring theme. Bob has really embedded himself amongst the faithfuls that some wouldn't be willing to vote for him. Plus, as we saw in episode 3, Bob is a hard person to go up against because of his verbal punches. Before the mission, Dylan didn't think he had the numbers to go after Bob, but boy did that change after the mission. The mission involved needing to build statues on 10 plinths. The body pieces were all the same, but the head pieces had each player's names. Whoever's head was placed on the bodies of the statues would win a shield. There was no discussion, people just picked things up, with some picking up their heads first. Bob H, Bob the drag queen, Brittany, Chriselle, Danielle, Dolores, Dylan, Rob, Tom and Wes managed to put their heads on the plinth to win a shield, which meant Carolyn, Sierra, Derek, Gabby, Ivar, Nikki, Robin and Sam were up for the next murder. I thought Robin and Sam should have been given the opportunity to get a shield. I know there were suspicions on Robin early on, but she along with Sam were amongst the people that came off the boat mission. Bob the Drag Queen said that one of the new guys needed to put their head up there because everyone thinks one of them is a traitor. This obviously did not go down well with Rob, and I instantly thought it was another reason for Rob to eventually turn on Bob the Drag Queen. Not 5 seconds later and Rob was discussing with either Wes or Derek to go after Bob. I thought it was Wes I heard. They didn't show the faces or even put the names in the captions that appeared. Highly inconvenient by production. Rob didn't want to blindside Bob directly as he didn't want to lose Carolyn and Danielle with the move, so he was looking to do so indirectly. This felt more like a power move than one that needed to happen. The problem is that the traitors aren't exactly working smoothly, so it could cause problems between the other three. While Rob and Dylan were trying to get votes towards Bob the Drag Queen, Wes was trying to whip up votes against Nikki by talking to Sierra. While Chriselle and Nikki didn't want to vote for Bob the Drag Queen, Chriselle seemed more open to it and did in fact vote that way. If I was trying to convince Nikki, I would say voting for Bob would be the best way to save herself because she's in the firing line. With the table only talking about Sierra and Nikki, Rob interrupted Sierra saying it's all a distraction. That look by Rob at Bob the Drag Queen was so dramatic. It was like something scripted for dramatic effect, coupled with the cut, the music and Bob's reaction to it. As it was Rob that was mostly going after Bob the Drag Queen rather than Dylan, Bob really attacked Rob back. Who knows what was going on in the heads of the Faithfuls and other traitors watching that. The two biggest questions for me was, would Rob's plan work and would Carolyn and Danielle vote for Bob the Drag Queen, seeing as they were aware of the plan? I thought Carolyn would, but I thought Danielle wouldn't because she initially told Rob she wasn't going to go along with it. Well, I was both wrong and surprised because Danielle did vote for Bob the Drag Queen. His reaction to it made me think he knew he was gone despite only 2 votes being cast at that point, and also because they had bonded so well before they knew they were traitors. At first it looked like it might be a close vote with Sierra and Nikki also receiving votes, but Bob the Drag Queen was the first traitor banished with 11 votes. With Bob the Drag Queen voting for Rob and Wes possibly starting to wonder if Rob is a traitor, this move might have blown Rob's game up, especially as people like Sam think one of the late entry players is the traitor. Either that or no one else thinks anything of it. We still have people thinking that either Sierra or Nikki put themselves in the coffin. We shall see in episode 5 if there's any fallout, especially among the traitors.